Hey guys, I'm Indy. Today I will be doing a review of the loaner deck, a Benevolent Force to be reckoned with, otherwise known as the Rokket loaner deck. Before we get started, if you enjoy the video or find it the least bit helpful, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you can fuel my ego. Anyways, let's get started, shall we? First of all, let's read the deck description. Utilize your dragon-type dark monsters such as Rokket to link summon monsters like Duel. Most Rokket monsters have effects that can be activated when they're targeted by the effect of a link monster on the field. Draw out the effect of the Rokket monsters according to the situation, and fire the gun to victory. As the description says, this deck is based around the Rokket monster archetype, which is dependent on link monsters as seen by the 12 link monsters in the extra deck. Speaking of deck, let's go ahead and take a look at it. The first monster we have is Rokket Dragon. I'll go ahead and let you read the description yourself, I'm not going to read it. The next monster we have is Rokket Synchron. You can go ahead and read there, it's a tuner. Next we have Overflow Dragon, Chobham Armor Dragon, Shell Rokket Dragon, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, Arcfiend Eccentric, Auto Rokket Dragon, Hibernation Dragon, Gateway Dragon, Magna Rokket Dragon, Metal Rokket Dragon, Silver Rokket Dragon, Rokket Tracer, which is a tuner, Rokket Recharger, Rokket Caliber, which is also a tuner, Dino Wrestler Pankratops, Explode Rokket Dragon, Abso Router Dragon, and the last monster we have is Noctovision Dragon. Now onto the spell cards. The first spell we have is Dark Hole, Raigeki, Harpy's Feather Duster, Monster Reborn, Pot of Desires, Lightning Storm, Boot Sector Launch, Scapegoat, Squib Draw, Quick Launch, Called by the Grave, and Rapid Trigger. Now the traps we have are Mirror Force, Magic Cylinder, Heavy Storm Duster, Infinite Impermanence, Ice Dragon's Prison, Magical Cylinders, Mirror Force Launcher, and Crackdown. Now, in our extra deck we have one fusion monster, which is Borload's Furious Dragon. We have one Synchro monster, which is Borload Savage Dragon. We have one Exceeds monster, which is Borload X-Charge Dragon. And then we have 12 Link monsters. The first is Striker Dragon, next is Booster Dragon, Mini Boral Dragon, Delindrous Dragon, Quad Boral Dragon, Triple Burst Dragon, Boral Code Dragon, Topologic Bomber Dragon, Borlo Dragon, Boral Sword Dragon, Topologic Zeraboros, and Tri-Brigade Shiraig, the Ominous Omen. Now, the best cards I would say that are in this deck are all the regular Rokket monsters for their abilities, Overflow Dragon for its ability, because you can use it to special summon it from the hand whenever you use a Link monster's effect on one of the Rokket monsters. Chobham, because you can summon it from your hand whenever your opponent declares a direct attack. Rokket Tracer, as it's a tuner and it has a quick effect ability. Rokket Recharger for its ability to bring back a monster from the graveyard if it is destroyed. Rokket Caliber for its ability to be special summoned from the hand to a zone a Dark Link monster points to, and it is a tuner. Dino Wrestler Pankratops for its ability. Abso Router Dragon for being able to be special summoned from the hand if you control a Rokket monster. Now all the spells are very good, though Scapegoat isn't as good because it's kind of hard to actually use it properly and there's only one of them in the deck. Squib Draw is an amazing spell, that's probably one of the best in this. Quick Launch is also really good, and Rapid Trigger is not very good, it's alright. And the trap selection is pretty mediocre. The best cards in the traps are probably Mirror Force, Magic Cylinder, Infinite Impermanence, Ice Dragon's Prison, and Crackdown. The rest are kind of mid. And the extra deck monsters are also very mid. Now in the extra deck, the best monsters are most likely going to be Borload Savage Dragon, Borload Dragon, Boral Sword Dragon, and Tri-Brigade Shiraig, the Ominous Omen. Now overall, I would probably say this deck is kind of mid because it doesn't have very much ability to actually get a lot of the extra deck monsters onto the field. For example, Borload Savage Dragon, I've only been able to almost get it out once. I was only able to get it out because I had Boot Sector Launch, and I was able to special summon 2 Rokket monsters from my hand, and I already had one on the field, so I already had 3 of them on the field, and I had the ability to use their abilities and use them to get more monsters onto the field. The most you can get out of Boral Savage Dragon, on your first turn at least, is you can equip maybe a Striker Dragon, and if you're lucky, maybe like a Link 2. So you'll have 1 or 2 negates. And the fusion is kind of just, it's good, but It's not really good as a boss monster because the only fusion spell you have is Rapid Trigger, which makes it to where you can't attack monsters that are not special summoned, and I don't think you can attack directly either. And the Exceeds monster it's alright. It's not the best, but it really relies on having monsters in your graveyard in the first place. And even then it has a clause that says you cannot special summon other monsters or attack directly for the rest of this turn. So it's alright. Very mid. Striker Dragon is one of the ones you'll most likely go into every turn. Well, at least every first turn, because you can use this to get a boot sector launch from your deck to your hand, and then you can use it to special summon some monsters from your hand, assuming you do have Rokket monsters in your hand. And it has a float effect that if it's in the graveyard and you summon a Rokket monster, you can add it to it. Wait, no, it doesn't. Now, Striker Dragon is the one you'll most likely go into on your first turn every time, because it has an ability that you can add one boot sector launch from your deck to your hand, and then you can also target one face-up monster you control and one Rokket monster in your graveyard, destroy that monster on the field, and if you do, add the other monster to your hand. So you can basically destroy Striker Dragon again, and it will bring back the monster you linked away and put it back in your hand. Then you can use the boot sector launch to get it out onto the field. Booster Dragon is alright. It's not really a lone card type. You kind of have to have another card onto the field. Mini Boral Dragon is also very mid. It's kind of hard to get it out onto the field with this deck, using its graveyard effect, of course. Now, Delindrous Dragon, this is one of your mainstays because you can use it as link fodder and get it into the graveyard. If you special summon a Rokket monster, you could special summon this from the graveyard and put it back onto the field, and then you can go into a rank 3, and then you can continue on with those kind of plays. Borocode Dragon is pretty alright. Now, on the boss monster side, Borload Dragon, it's a pretty good boss monster. It only requires three effect monsters to go into it, and then you get a link 4. And neither player can target this card with monster effects, so it has a decent amount of protection. And the main ability you use it for is whenever you attack an opponent's monster, you can put it in a zone that this card points to. So you can, if you attack 2 monsters in total, then you can get 2 monsters on your side of the field that you can then link away into stronger boss monsters, such as Boral Sword Dragon. Now, Boral Sword Dragon is the main boss monster you really want to go into, because you can target one attack position monster and change it to defense position, and then your Boral Sword Dragon can attack twice. So it's really helpful for OTKs, but it's kind of hard to actually get off because it's not very often you can actually get Boral Sword Dragon onto the field. And then Tri-Brigade Shrike, the Ominous Omen, it's a really powerful card, but it doesn't really have any floating effects because there's no Beast or Wing Beast or Beast Warrior monsters in this deck, and you can only really get it onto the field with Scapegoat, which is also really difficult because you cannot summon monsters the turn you activate this card. So you have to hope that the Scapegoat tokens actually stay on the field. Now, the monsters in this deck, they're kind of mid. You have to, that you can only really use their abilities if they're targeted by a link monster, and if they're in the grave, and even then you have to be able to get them in the grave in the first place, and this deck doesn't really have very many ways of getting them into the grave unless you actually draw the monsters that you need. So you guaranteed have to get a monster on the field in order to actually start any of those plays, because those plays will start off with Striker Dragon, so that you can get Boot Sector launch into your hand, and then you can use Boot Sector to get more things onto the field, and then hopefully you'll link summon up the chain. Then eventually you'll hopefully end up on either Borload Savage Dragon with a few negates, which is kind of hard to do. The most I've been able to do is 1 or 2 negates, or Boral Sword Dragon, so that way if your opponent has any cards on their field, you can basically just steamroll them because its effects are very strong. And the fusion it's good, but the fusion card we have is not good because that monster can only attack special summon monsters, and I don't think it can attack directly. So you're just really relying on like Borload Savage Dragon, Boral Sword Dragon, and maybe Topologic Zerberus if you can get on the field, because if you manage to banish a bunch of cards, then it gains 200 attack for each banished card. But again, that's a bit more difficult because it's a link 4, and this deck doesn't really excel at getting a bunch of monsters special summoned into its spots. Your best bet is to either go for Borload Savage Dragon or Boral Sword Dragon, and maybe Borload Dragon if you really want to take control of another opponent's monster. And then the spells we have are pretty good. You got a bunch, like 3 monster destruction spells. You have technically 2 spell destroying spells, being a Lightning Storm and Harpy's Feather Duster. You got Monster Reborn, which is really good. Pot of Desires. Then we have the staple of this deck, Boot Sector Launch, which is pretty necessary. Then we have Scapegoat, which is only for Tri-Brigade Shiraig, so it's not really too useful. Squib Draw is really good because you can destroy a Rokket monster you control and send it to the graveyard, then you can draw 2 cards. Quick Launch is also really good because you can get a monster from your deck onto the field and then call by the grave to negate any Ash Blossoms or stuff like that. Or maybe even negate some Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, assuming they even use that. But I've ran into a bunch of loaner decks, so you might have a good chance of using it. And trap-wise, we have Mirror Force, which is really good. Magic Cylinder, which is pretty good, but it's Magical Cylinders is kind of because a lot of times whenever you put this onto the field, once you activate it, your opponent's like, oh, I'm not going to attack you directly, and focus on getting rid of that card. So in the end, you don't even get to use it. So it's better just to get Magic Cylinder onto the field so they don't know what it is. Heavy Storm Duster is pretty good. You get to destroy 2 spells or traps on the field, but you can't conduct your battle phase, so it's kind of a good going first card, so that way you can use it during your opponent's turn. Infinite Impermanence, everybody knows how good that one is. And then Ice Dragon's Prison, so that way you can take control of an opponent's monster in their graveyard, and then you can use it as link bait. And Mirror Force Launcher is a bit better than Magical Cylinders, as you can discard 1 monster and add 1 Mirror Force from your deck or graveyard to your hand. And then it also has a destroy effect that if it's destroyed by an opponent's card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can set this card from your graveyard and 1 Mirror Force from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So it's a lot better than Magical Cylinder in my opinion. And it's a continuous trap, so you can do it once per turn as well. And then we have Crackdown, which allows you to take control of an opponent's face-up monster. The traps are pretty good. The spells are also really good. And the monster selection, it has a decent amount of useful cards, but they're not very, very good. They're just passable. Like, you can get a win, but if someone has a custom-made deck, you're not gonna win. So overall, I would definitely say this deck is very mid. It's very mid. You can use it. I'm not gonna say you're gonna get a bunch of wins with it, but you can use it. And most of the time your board is not going to be very strong, so use it at your own caution. Anyways, if you found this video helpful, please feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me what I should do next. I'm thinking about doing the next loaner deck, so just let me know. Anyways, thank you for watching, and take care.